on straight to the show today. All right. So with that being said, low carb or plant-based diet, which diet really works faster for diabetes? The truth is, you don't have to choose. Years of science says combining both of these is the ultimate hack for blood sugar control. Or is it? Well, stay tuned as we compare these two basic but important diet programs that we all potentially know of. So don't go anywhere. We are going to spend this time to actually talk about diet, and hopefully we will have a good time together. So thanks for joining us. And with that being said, let's go for it. So let's first start off, talk about what are low carb diets in the meantime. Just a refresher, because we talked about low carb diets and we talked about plant-based diets. Now today we are comparing the two. But as a refresher, what is even a low carb diet? How do they even help with your diabetes or with blood sugar control? So the first thing they do is that they help with dropping your hemoglobin A1C levels, or what we call A1C levels. If you have diabetes, you already know this number. If you don't want to know this number, and so you got to watch the show so that you avoid it, right? So starting off with low carb diet. Low carb diets actually help lower your A1C levels, which is the number that your doctor checks at the lab every 3 months to tell you how you're doing, in terms of your glucose control in your blood. If you check every day, you may have some number, but the best or most accurate number that you should ask for is what we call the A1C, because it takes into account a period of like 3 months, see how you've been doing on your blood glucose level. And studies have shown that if you are involved in low carb diet, you potentially will drop your A1C levels faster, or I should say, you are going to have a better blood sugar control day by day, thereby translating into the longer term, which is 3 months check will show that your blood sugar levels are down or are better. And some of the low carb diets that we discussed are the Atkins diet and the keto diet, right? We know about these. And I think there's another one that we've hit on, but these are the most popular ones. The Atkins diet is more like protein, rich in proteins, more proteins, while the keto diet is one that has about 70 to 80% of fats. So that is the low carb diet that we're talking about. And those diets, all of which are good, are known to decrease your A1C levels. So if you are struggling as a diabetic to lower your sugar levels, maybe you should look at low carb diet, because the science is there. The other thing is that not only are they doing that, they also improve your insulin sensitivity. Your insulin sensitivity, when you have lower carb intake, it reduces the instance of you releasing insulin or the insulin demand on your body. That helps, make sure that because there's not a lot of insulin demand on you, the little insulin that you have respond better. So it becomes more sensitive, because, whatever comes out is used up. And if it's used up, then it's doing its job. And so it's sensitive. It's more sensitive. Rather than a person who eats a lot of carbs, glucose on board makes the insulin release all the time. And so at some point, the insulin doesn't work. So that is one benefit of low carb diets. And then another thing that we also learned is that low carb diets also basically help lower your fasting blood sugar levels. The liver produces less glucose overnight due to reduced glycogen stores. When you eat a lot of glucose, if you are not on a low carb diet and you're eating a lot of glucose, what happens is that glucose is stored in the liver in the form of glycogen. And when you are not eating, the glycogen converts to glucose back into your blood. And so for people who are not eating a lot of carbs, they are not storing a lot of glucose in the liver. And so when they are not eating, their blood sugars don't go up as much, which basically means that they don't have higher blood glucose levels all the time, even when they are not eating. Fasting blood glucose levels are lower compared to somebody who is constantly eating carbs or carbohydrates, because you are storing a lot in your liver, and so even when you are not eating, your liver is producing glucose into your blood. That's another good thing about the low carb diet that we have come to know. The other thing is that if you are on a low carb diet, you easily lose weight, because low carb diet, what happens is, because you are on a low carb diet, you increase satiety. When you eat, you are filled more. Talk to somebody who eats a lot of carbs. They continue to eat and get hungry all the time. Why? Because there's actually a couple of hormones involved, one called leptin, the other called ghrelin. And what these hormones do is that they make you increase in appetite. So the more you eat carbs, you're releasing more of this leptin and ghrelin, which then lead to more hunger or more increased appetite, especially for junk food. And so you gain weight as a result. You're eating around the clock. Why? Because your appetite is already revved up, just because you are eating a lot of carbohydrates. So if you want to cut back on your weight, one easy way is not starving yourself, but eat the right foods that don't have a lot of glucose or starches in them. Low carbohydrates will suppress your hunger or your appetite, so you don't eat a lot and thereby gain a lot of weight. So you see, these are three basic but important benefits of a low carb diet. The other thing is in fat burning. If you're on a low carb diet, you sort of shift to using a lot more of glucose, because you don't eat a lot of carbohydrates, so you don't have a lot of glucose, into using your fat stores. So you shift to burning fat for fuel rather than depend on glucose or the food that you eat for fuel. And so this is basically the principle of people who have keto diets. Keto diet is another form of low carb diet, I said earlier. So you go into what we call ketosis. So because you don't have a lot of glucose on board, what is happening now is that your body turns into fat, whether it's a fat you ate or fat stores, so that you use those for sources of energy. And if you have a lot of fat stores, it means that you're going to lose weight. Why? Because you are burning the fat for energy rather than the food that you're eating all the time. So that's one principle of ketosis or keto diet to be complete. So that's the other thing. The other thing is that people on a low carb diet actually reduce water weight. Insulin levels lead to less water retention, because you don't release a lot of insulin, because you don't have a lot of glucose or a lot of starch on board. Then you don't need a lot of water, and if you don't have a lot of water, what happens is you don't have a lot of weight. So all those come together for the benefit of those who are on a low carb diet. And as well, for the 2020 meta-analysis study, which went through some studies, showed that people who are on low carb diet have 2 to 3 times more weight loss than people who just ate regular diets. So the more you cut back on the starches and the sugars, which are the glucose, the carbohydrates, then you are eventually going to lose weight faster. And weight loss is associated with improved glucose tolerance, or I should say improved blood sugar levels. And then also all the other things, even your blood pressure levels are reduced when you lose weight. About 10-pound weight, every 10-pound weight every 10-pound weight loss, I should say, is actually corresponding to 5 millimeter mercury of blood pressure loss. So if your blood pressure is so high and you can't control it, think about losing weight. Because if you lose 10 pounds, you are going to lose 5 points of your blood pressure. And so that is one thing that you should. I know we are focusing on blood sugar, but losing weight from not eating so much carbs has several benefits, one of which is the blood pressure loss. Now, the other thing is that low carb diet people also have stable or stabilized energy levels. And it makes sense, right? Because if you are not pounding on high energy foods, like your full foods, your bankus, your potatoes, your yams, your yucas, your garis, your whatever starchy food that you eat, or your sugars, your refined flour, your breads, and your baked goods, if you're not eating those, then obviously your sugars are not going to go high up when you eat something else. And so your sugars become stable. And if your sugars are stable, your energy levels are stable. If you avoid refined carbs, it prevents the crashes when your sugars are gone, and then the spikes when you eat. When you eat right now and it's a refined carb, your sugars will go up quick. It will just shoot up like that. But if you eat something that has low carbs, it's not going to shoot up. And the sad thing is, when they shoot up, because they shoot up quickly, your body will release all your insulin that it needs to convert them out, to take them out of your blood. And when your body does that, then your blood sugar goes down again, then you're hungry again. So you spike it up and then you crash, become hungry. You spike it up and you crash. So your levels are all over the place. So if you are diabetic, you're checking your sugar levels and it's up and down. You don't understand, check your diet. You are probably eating too much starchy foods or too much carbohydrates. And that is why you are going to the spikes and the crashes. If you are in a low carb diet, you are obviously going to stabilize your energy levels. Because of the lack of the spikes and the crashes, your energy is continuous. You don't feel tired all the time. Why? Because your blood glucose levels are almost constant around the clock. And so that is something that we also know from the low carb diet. Now, a steady source of fuel, especially for those who are doing keto diet, is your fat. And also for those who are doing Atkins diet, who are doing more proteins, it's also your proteins. So instead of doing a lot of the starches, you switch onto, if you are in a ketogenic diet, you are doing more of the fats. I'm talking about healthy fats, of course. We'll probably find time to talk about that as we go forward. And then if you're doing Atkins diet, you are also doing more of the proteins, and those convert to long-lasting energy levels rather than carbohydrate, which just comes whoops and then goes down whoops, which basically makes you tired all the time, or make you, some people even get irritable just because of the up and downs, right? And so that was the third benefit of a low carb diet. The other one is low carb diet leads to reduced glycemic variability. And I think the point that I said even explains this too. If you're not eating too much sugar, you are always on the point as far as levels are concerned. When you eat high amount of carbohydrates, you are eating high glycemic foods, or foods that increases your blood sugar quick, as compared to somebody who eats low carb diet, say broccoli or some kind of a veggie. There's still some sugars in there, but it's not so much. So the glycemic variability is low. It's always on point, around the normal point. And that is what we want to also emphasize with the low carb diet. And don't forget, we're going to talk about quickly also the plant-based diet, also how it works. And then we ask the question, are we better off doing low carb or plant-based, especially if we are trying to do to lower our blood sugar, our blood pressure, and all those cardiovascular events, right? So now let's talk about the plant-based diet quickly. And by the way, if you want more information, the details in the low-carb diet, including the examples, our last video, spells all those out. So after this show, just go back to our channel, wherever you are watching from, and watch the video before this. We spent a whole time talking about just low carbs and the whole time talking about just plant-based completely, about an hour of each. But today I'm just comparing the two, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, except to say that plant-based diet also, we have some examples we brought up last time. Like somebody may be a vegan, somebody may be a vegetarian. In fact, there's a pescatarian, there's flexitarian, and there's also a Mediterranean kind of diet, all of which fall under plant-based diet. These are variations of what we know typically as a vegan or a vegetarian diet, right? The flexitarian is a person who eats, mostly plant-based, but as the name says, flexible. They are able to do once a week. They do animal products like meat once a week, but apart from that one time, all the time they are doing plant-based. The Mediterranean also focuses a lot more on the nuts and the seeds, the olive oil, and a few other times they can add, plant sources like milk and cheese, right? And occasionally they also do meat. So it's mostly plants. And then the vegetarian, let me talk about the pescatarian. The pescatarian is one who also does vegetarian. I mean, they do more of the plant, but they fall on an animal source from fish. So they will eat plants and fish, which I really think it's one that is good. I think I like that one. But personally, you eat plants, but you're able to cheat with fish instead of eating red meat and all those other animal sources. You can eat fish. So it's plants and then fish. And then the vegetarian, they eat plants mostly, but then they are allowed to add eggs, for protein sources, and then even milk or cheese also for protein sources. That's a vegetarian. But when we come to a vegan, that one is a strictly plant. They have no source of animal product in their diet. And all these have their benefits, their disadvantages and their advantages. Again, check out the last video and see. And for those who are watching, I may also link the last videos at the end of these videos so you can watch them. But you can always go back and see the details of all these things. But now let's talk about the benefits of the plant-based diet for your blood sugar levels. And then we'll compare plant-based diet and compare it with the low-carb diet. So the first thing is the benefit of fibers. Fiber, plants are basically fiber. Fiber maximum on top. If you are eating the plant-based diet, you are most likely going for a lot of fiber, and especially if you are eating non-processed plant-based sources. Some people, they do processed plants, so the fiber may have been taken out. But if it's not processed, a lot of your intake will be fiber. And what is the benefit of fiber on your blood sugar, on your weight, and on all those good things? Benefit of fiber, the first one is that fiber helps with insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity, if you are eating plant sources, you are also making sure that your insulin is very sensitive, just like on a low carb diet, right? Because soluble fiber, example like oatmeal, those, they form a gel-like substance in your gut, and then they show they slow your digestion of carbohydrates. So when you eat plant sources like oatmeal, beans, and all those good stuff, what you're doing, because of the amount of fiber, you don't absorb all the glucose in your food as much. As a matter of fact, there are tips out there now that for you to lower your post-meal blood sugar levels, whenever you eat, make sure you eat with some kind of a fiber, especially like a salad. Even if you're not a plant-based diet person, if you want to take care of your blood sugar levels, whatever you eat, either precede it with plant sources or some other kind of fiber so that you don't absorb all the sugar. For example, let me give you a trick. Maybe you are on a birthday party, everybody's eating, like today is my birthday, right? You are on a birthday party and you are served a cake. Everybody is eating. You can see that cake is so good. I mean, you say you won't eat no sugars, but this one time you want to cheat. If you have to cheat, you could start off with a salad, a small bowl of salad. Then on top of it, you eat your cake. Because of the salad, which is rich in fiber from plant sources, you're not going to absorb all the sugar from the cake. So that's a trick right there, right? So plants are known to do that. And those who are following plant-based diet, like a vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian, Mediterranean, or even flexitarian diets, they are also cheating nature by not absorbing all the glucose. And so their blood sugar levels get lower. The other thing is that the plant-based sources, they also have insoluble fiber. We have the soluble fiber, which I mentioned, and then we have the insoluble fiber. The soluble fibers with the oatmeals and apples and all those things that I mentioned, right? Now, the insoluble fiber examples include the leafy greens themselves. That would be like a salad, right? And then also whole grains. If you eat those, you also promote beneficial bacterial growth. Some people actually have been told to take over-the-counter supplements of probiotics just to become regular so that they can go to the bathroom, or to avoid bloating or some kind of other GI or gastrointestinal issues, right? Just because of those things, they say, hey, get some OTC or over-the-counter probiotic. Now, if you are eating from plant sources, naturally you are promoting the growth of these good bacteria. And so you may not even need to supplement. And what they do is that they help in several ways to make sure that your insulin becomes sensitive. Now, I don't want to go into the science about that, but except to say that in a 2022 trial in diabetes care found that 35 grams of fiber, daily improved insulin sensitivity by 24% in a 12-week period. So people who were doing these fibers, they increased their insulin sensitivity by 24%. This is not medicine. This is just eating the right kinds of foods, especially from plant sources, right? So that is another point from the plant-based diet. That's the first point, as a matter of fact. The second point is that plant-based diets are also rich in antioxidants. And most diseases that we face these days are of oxidative sources. Or I should say they all come from oxidative stress, right? Most of the diseases, diabetes, cholesterol, even cholesterol, high cholesterol levels, heart diseases, ulcers, and all those other problems that you hear about, most of them are because of oxidative stress. And what better way to avoid those oxidative stress by eating from plant sources? Because plants are full of antioxidants. If you are eating veggies, if you are eating bell peppers, you are eating apples, you are getting vitamin C. If you are eating oranges, you are getting vitamin C. And all those they have polyphenols, which basically neutralize free radicals, which are the disease-causing agents. Some of which even lead to cancers and stuff. But if your diet is rich in these sources, then you are going to be chewing them up in your blood without having to do much. The plant sources of diet are going to do that. Now, in diabetes, and also obviously in high cholesterol levels, all these are traced into oxidation. So the more plant sources you eat, the more polyphenols you get, and the more the antioxidants work for you, such that you are not going to have these problems. And if you already have diabetes, you prolong, the incidence of complications. I don't know if that's right. You defer. You don't get into complications as much if you are eating these plant sources because of the polyphenols and the antioxidants that come from them, which work and fight for you and protect your body against all those other things. They improve cell function, and they protect even the beta cells that produce your insulin. So somebody who has been diagnosed as diabetic, who is concerned about their future, if you begin to include plant-based sources, you're going to protect your beta cells, which is in the pancreas, right, from getting more damage if you are including these foods into your diet, so that you don't end up with complications from diabetes, or you prolong, your life, because you are not, just dumping processed foods and getting your pancreas even worse, right? And so that is another thing that plant-based foods do. Now let's go to the third one. So the polyphenols we talked about, there's another thing they do. Now remember, the polyphenols are from the plant sources, right? Apples, berries, all those things that we eat from plant sources. They also help glucose metabolism. If you are eating from plant sources, you are also helping your body to metabolize all your glucose that you eat. So not only are you eating healthier and getting protection from these free radicals, you are also helping your body to process the little glucose that you eat on board, making it easier for you to prevent diabetes complications from happening. There are certain things that we don't want to go into the details, but except to say that these polyphenols, what they do scientifically is they activate a protein called AMP. So we call it AMP, activated protein kinase, which is basically an enzyme, which help the uptake of glucose and also help in fat burning. What else is better than that? Just by eating regular meal, but except that it is more of plant sources, you are getting all these benefits for free. So that is another thing. And then the other thing they also do, plant-based foods do, is that they improve insulin signaling. They enhance the ability of cells to respond to insulin. That is why they make your insulin more sensitive if you are eating. But there are more studies. There was a study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition which showed this, but I don't have time to go through that. About 10 to 15% of people doing better with their glucose level just because they stuck, to plant-based diet. And so we can beat that. Now, the other thing is that just like the low-carb diet, plant-based sources also help with your weight management, because obviously most of the low-carb, most of the plants that we eat have low carbs. If you are eating broccoli, if you are eating spinach, if you are eating berries, if you are eating avocados, the sources of energy there are less compared to your starchy foods. And so it makes sense that you're not going to gain a lot of weight on those. So they help with your weight and then also help with insulin sensitivity, as we have alluded to. So that is something that we can really bank on. The other thing is, if you're eating because of the sources of fiber, you don't get hungry as much. So if you're somebody, you say that, as for me, every time I feel like eating, just try plant-based diet. The fiber in them will make you full, especially when you drink water after that. They swell up. It's just a matter of just having them on board, and you don't get hungry. I mean, you may have the appetite, but as long as you are able to control your appetite, which is another thing, you are not going to be hungry, because some people may not be hungry and yet they still want to eat, right? Come on, man. that is something different. But if it is not that, if it's not about appetite control, and even that I showed you, if you are eating less carbohydrates, you are probably also going to have a hand over your appetite. So you definitely will not be hungry for the long haul if you are eating a lot of plant-based diet, plant sources. And they do the same thing as we also talked about as far as the glycemic load is concerned. You are not eating a lot of starchy foods, and the foods you eat are from whole plants, especially if they are not processed. If you're eating something like from legumes, some non-starchy vegetables, it can be any vegetable. It has to be non-starchy vegetables. If you are doing those, then obviously it's not going to be something that you should have a problem with. And then apart from that, let's see what else we can talk about. Now let's actually go and talk about which one is best now. I think I've said a lot about both diets, plants and then low carbs. They seem to intersect. In terms of the benefits, they do intersection a lot, but they do it in quite different ways. But let's talk about how, which one is the best. I'm pretty sure you are waiting to say, should I do plant-based or should I do low carb? Let's answer that. But before that, let's see what are some of the benefits of the low carb diet. Quickly, we already said that faster A1C drops, right? You're going to reduce your A1C levels. Both of them do. But the key here that I'm mentioning is that the A1C drop, which is a measure of the long-term sugar control in your blood, is faster with low-carb diet. Faster doesn't mean sustainable though. So let's keep an eye on that. It is definitely faster to reduce your blood sugar levels, with the low-carb diet, whether it's a keto diet or the Atkins diet or the paleo, whichever diet that you do. Definitely faster drop in your A1C levels. And it also improves your insulin sensitivity quickly. And then also, obviously, as I mentioned, the weight loss is also going to be on there for you. So that's a pro for the low carb diet. And then it also helps with the energy stability. You don't do the crashes and your sugar cravings. Those are also taken care of. So that's all good for low carb diet. But then there are some disadvantages. And that the first one is that it is hard to maintain long term due to the restrictions on carbs. Some people want to do it, but they are like, I can't avoid my fufu. I can't avoid my potatoes. I can't avoid my swallow. I can't avoid my banku. I can't avoid my gari. What else? What are some of the other starchy foods you eat? I can avoid this. I can avoid yuca. I can avoid that, my plantain. I can avoid my fufu. Whatever it is. And because of that, some people are not able to sustain it. So yes, if you can sustain it, then that's the quickest way to drop your A1C levels. but then it is hard for some people, to do that long term. So it becomes less sustainable for some people, right? The other thing is that there are some nutritional gaps with the low carb diet. People may lack fiber because you're eating only meat or only fat sources, and you don't really keep an eye on your fiber, and so you may not have fiber on board. You get constipated, maybe dehydrated. There are certain things that you may not definitely do. You may also lack some minerals and some key ingredients that you may be missing from plant-based just because you're doing the low carb. So that is another thing. And if that's the case, you may have to actually plan and be intentional to supplement on those things so that you don't lose on those. The other thing is the social challenges, dining out. When you have family around that takes you out to eat, like they're going to take you because it's my birthday. Come on, man. And then you get restricted. Look at the menu and everything has something that you don't want. So that becomes a problem, right? But then if you can look beyond that, it is best for people who prefer meat or fat-rich meals. For the low-carb people who say that, as for me, I can't stop eating meat and I can't stop eating my fats and my oils. Those people are the ones that the low-carb diets are for. It works better for them. And obviously, they drop their blood sugar. But if you're already a person who love meat, who love fat, your cheeses, your milks, and you can survive on those without going for the starches or plants, then that will be the easier one for you. So that is where what I would say with the plant low carb diet. Now let's talk about the plant-based. Then we will see which one you will choose and which one I will choose. The plant-based, the advantages, as I also alluded to some of them, is the high fiber, right? It's got a lot of the fiber, and that obviously slows down glucose absorption and improves insulin sensitivity also over time. So that is the key thing with the plant-based diet. The other thing is that have health benefits of the plant-based diet. Because you're not doing animal sources, you are less likely going to have cholesterol problems because you're not eating meat. So the cholesterol you have is basically from what your body makes. And so for people who have family history of high cholesterol or heart attacks, strokes and some of that, you may be potentially better off doing a plant-based diet because you don't want to add more fat onto your diet and accumulate more cholesterol, especially the bad ones. And so that is the good part of plant-based diet is heart healthy in that regard. Helps your cholesterol levels and also inflammation and avoid any other cardiovascular disease risk, right? When it comes to sustainability, is it something that can be sustained? It is actually easier compared to the low-carb diet. It's easier to maintain long-term due to its variability and flexibility. I mentioned about 4, maybe 5 plant-based diets, but when it comes to the low-carb diet, I could only talk about 2 or maybe 3. The plant-based, we have vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, pescatarian, and then we also have Mediterranean. 5 good types of plant-based diet. So at least one will fit you. Whether you can do completely no animal source, which is vegan, or some eggs, some protein, some milk and cheese, which is vegetarian, or pescatarian, which is basically half fish to plant-based diet. So you eat fish, all right, and all the other food you eat is plant-based. Or, which is the other one, flexitarian, which is you are flexible. You are doing vegetarian, but the only times you eat meat is once a week. Every other time you eat. So several modifications around plant-based. So it makes it easier for folks to stick to. So it's more flexible, more sustainable long-term compared to the low-carb diet. Gotta get it right? The low-carb diet. Now the disadvantage though is that the sugar levels do not drop quickly enough like you have in the low-carb diet. You still have a lowering of your A1C levels, but it's going to take some time. You're going to have to keep at it for a longer period to be able to see those compared to the low-carb diet. And then also, sometimes you can get the blood sugar spikes, especially when you eat the plant-based diet sources, which have a lot of starch. Last week, I was careful to say that plant-based doesn't mean you can eat your starchy foods because, think about it. If you are eating from a pounded potato. Potato is plant-based, right? Or pounded fufu or whatever starchy food you are eating. They are all starch. They are from plants. So technically you are eating plant-based, but that's not a healthy plant-based. So you're gonna have to make sure that you stick to the ones with low glycemic index or those that are less starchy is the key. Those that don't have a lot of starch. If you do those, then you're going to reap the benefits of those of the plant-based diet quickly. And that means that this disadvantage of spiking your blood sugar will not be there. That's the key there. And the only nutrient gap that I can think of for the plant-based diet is deficiencies in like B12 and potentially iron, right? But even that you can supplement them. If you are strictly on plant-based diet, especially the vegan, you may lack B12, vitamin B12, because there's no animal source. For somebody who's a vegetarian, they may get some of these from the little sources of protein, like in the milk or cheese. They can get some B12 from them, and the iron too. They can get somewhere. If it's not enough, you can always supplement with your vitamin B12 over the counter after you talk to your pharmacist or your doctor. And then the iron deficiency, which is because you're not eating red meat. Red meat has some iron in there. You can also supplement with iron-rich plant-based foods. Some plant-based foods have iron in them, but you got to be intentional. Especially if you're going to do this over the long period, you got to ask yourself, what foods are going to give me natural sources of iron? There are some of them. And then also, you can also supplement if you have to. So it's not a problem that you cannot really avoid. You cannot really fix. You can really solve for it. So it's also the plant-based diet is also best for people who enjoy fruits and veggies and grains. If you are a person who loves to eat fruit, somebody can eat a couple of fruits in the morning as breakfast and they don't feel hungry. That's good for them until like lunchtime or even dinner. That's good for you. Then that's your choice is right there. Easy. Some people love salads. They can make all kinds of salads from all kinds of sources: kale, lettuce, cabbage. They have all the recipes, and that is for you. Then you don't need to substitute that for anything else. You got to go for that then, because it's overall going to be helpful for you. So that's the kind of people who also will enjoy it the most. So if you're not a meat person or a fat person, then plant-based diet might be the easier one to go to. So I just wanted to bring that up to say that they both are good, but it depends on the person. Now, it also depends on your how much you're willing to sacrifice. Because whichever one you choose, you're going to sacrifice something else. And this brings me to the point that why don't we then do the hybrid approach? The hybrid approach is the best for both worlds. It's the best of both worlds, I should say, right? That in that way you combine low carb principles with plant-based, nutrient-dense, foods, which makes it most sustainable for blood glucose control. So you are doing low carb, but then you combine it with plant-based, nutrient-dense ones. So you control your blood sugar levels better, and you still get the benefit of all those things that we may be missing from the other food if you were just sticking to one. So that's the key. My answer, if you were looking for my answer as to saying which one is the best is to do both combined. But obviously, you can do either one if you don't feel like you're sacrificing anything. I mean, for me, after I've gone through this, I feel like I'm more like a pescatarian because I like my salmon. So that's fish. And then everything else I can add plant. I love avocado. I love sweet potatoes. All these are plant-based, right? So if I can throw in fish with it, then I'm a pescatarian. So fish plus plant sources. Or you may be a flexitarian. You say, hey, I am going to be able to do everything plant except on Sundays I'll eat meat. That's a plant-based diet. You are what? A flexitarian, And then you may say that, what, I like my eggs and my cheese and my milk, so I'm going to do a vegetarian. I'm going to eat every kind of plant source, and then I'll add my eggs and milk. That's a vegetarian. It's not so hard. We say the name, it's like you are sacrificing so much. You don't sacrifice a lot. As a matter of fact, you are gaining more by those little sacrifices. So if you can do either one, then that's the best for you. But if you can't and you want to combine them, then the hybrid is what we are saying. So you combine both worlds, and you get the best too, right? So the hybrid also includes healthy fats and proteins. So your fat sources will be from avocado. You remember we are trying to do both plant and low carb. So yes, since low carb depend on high fat meal, your fat becomes from good sources like avocado and olive oil. So it's not the seed oil on the market or the seed oil somewhere, but you're adding the better portion of plant fat to your low carb. What a sweet thing, right? And you're getting the best of both. And you could also do tofu for protein, as well as fatty fish for protein sources. And the other thing is you limit high carb plant foods, which have continuously, especially refined grains, the white flour for bread, for the donuts, the sugary fruits. Some people say, oh, I'm eating fruits, but all the fruits they eat are sugary. They are trying to cheat and saying that I like fruits. Well, what kind of fruits are you? Is it only sweet fruits? Like you're always eating ripe mangoes. You're always eating ripe bananas. Those are too sweet. So avoid those sugary ones or limit them at least, and then do, Granny Smith apple, green apples, some kind of a better tasting, but still plant source. You can still get some sweetness there. Some of the berries may not taste as sweet, but you can feel some tasty, some sour taste. I don't know how to describe it, but those of you who know what I'm talking about, you can put it in the chat. I got you. That's it. And those are good for you. And the benefit of combining both leads to a faster results and rapid decrease in your A1C levels or your blood sugar levels, to make it simple. And the other benefit is that it becomes more sustainable. The key is to be able to be sustained. If you start something today and next week you say, I stop, you lost. But the person who starts and continues it over a long period, that's the person that's going to reach and gain all the benefits that we are talking about here. So sustainability, make sure that whatever approach you do is something you can sustain. And you can always make modifications along the way. The person who actually loses is the one that gave up. Like we make New Year's resolutions and by the second week we give up. No, this person say, I think I'm not doing so good with my vegan. I'm going to throw in some eggs and some milk. So you become a vegetarian. That's better than to say that to hell with you, your veggies diet and stuff. I can't do it. No, you adjust as you go. But if you do the hybrid, that's actually going to be easier for you. So that's it. And then you also make sure that you balance your nutrients. Balancing nutrients will also be what you want to do. So I think I'm going to hang it up here and see if anybody has a question. I know a lot of people are watching, but I don't see a lot of questions here. If you have anything you want to add on the comment section, you can put it up on the comments. Or if you have a question, you can also put it up. You can definitely hit the thumbs up. And that one is free. I got some 6 thumbs up from YouTube right here. And I'm happy for that. And those watching on the other platforms, yourself, if you haven't, hit the thumbs up and the love and the share and the follow button. You are not doing me the best. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man, let's do that. All right. But I'm so happy that I'm still able to bring the show today. The show cannot stop just because it's my birthday. I defer to my wife to do all those preparations for my celebration, and my daughters doing that, my daughters and my son doing that. And I still came up, and I'm happy you joined me. So glad you did. And see if there's any questions. If there's no question, let me see if there's any question here. Nobody from Facebook has any question. I see people also from the TikTok. You are also doing good, joined. And I see a lot of you also. So let's wrap up. So basically, what we talked today is that what we learned today is that there's nothing like the best diet when it comes to plant-based and the low-carb-based diet, especially when it comes to reducing or lowering your blood sugar levels and reducing your risk for heart disease, heart attacks, and all those other cardiovascular issues, stroke, and the rest, right? The best approach is the one that you can keep, that you can sustain. And judging from what we have learned from the couple of videos we have had last week and the week before, make sure if you didn't see those, you go back on our channel and check them out on Dr. Oteng's channel on YouTube with my face there, my big head right there. You will not miss it. I know there's a lot of other Dr. Oteng's there, but go there and check those out and choose which one is going to work out for you. As a matter of fact, if you are watching right now and you are convinced to start on any of these diet approaches, whether you're going to do the hybrid approach or you're going to do just plain plant-based or you're going to do just plain low carb, put it on the comment section. Let's see what you have decided to do, and let me know your progress. That's the whole thing here. It's not just fun coming to tell you and not knowing what's going on. I want to see you see me and you say we like your content. Let me know what you have done. Some people have told us what they're doing. Tell us, show us on the comment section what you have decided to do, because that is going to bind you. It's going to keep you at your word. It's going to make you, think and say, I said I'm going to do this, and then you keep to it. But if you don't say anything, you just watch and you go, you're not being checked by your word. So I want you to be checked by your word. So make sure you choose and let us know in the comment section wherever you're watching from, and ensure that we do good with that, because God wants you to excel in every area of your life, and especially when it comes to your health. That is why we always conclude on our shows and say that, dear friend, I wish and we wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Thanks for watching, and God bless. Looking forward for your comments.